cafe anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 2034. I am your host, Mike Matthews. And the show's called
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Welcome to the show. It's going to be a good one because we got lots of stuff to cover. Yes, yesterday I had some things that you might have thought that were pretty salient subjects on yesterday's show, is what I'm trying to say. And I tried to rhyme things that were
Mike's Daily Podcast.
very well rhymed on the show, like I just did just now. What? That was fantastic. Welcome to Mike's Daily Podcast.
Daily
Somewhere in Podcastro Valley.
Podcast.
Actually, in Podcastro Valley today.
Yeah.
The last place on Earth. Jerry Stiller died. Oh, that's so sad. 91, though. That's awesome. Such a funny man. One of his things that he did that was fantastic was he could forget his lines and then zip through the line. The way he delivered his lines made it more funny than the actual joke. There's all kinds of, if you watch a lot of Seinfeld, you'll see what I'm talking about. But he's fantastic. Sad to see him go. Of course, his offspring was Ben Stiller. Anne Mira, was that his wife? She passed away several years ago, but she was in Zoolander, as was Jerry. She threw, I think, red paint on Zoolander, saying, meat is murder or something like that. And Jerry Stiller was at a urinal complaining about his prostate. And that was Zoolander. Was there a Zoolander 2? I have not seen that. What I also have not seen is the 60 Minutes that apparently talked about Pompeo, our head of Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo. He used to be head of the Pentagon. He was asked by ABC's Martha Raddatz whether he thinks the coronavirus was...
And here's today's podcast picture.
Man-made or genetically modified. He said, look, the best experts so far seem to think it was man-made. I have no reason to disbelieve at this point. Raddatz pointed out that the Office of the Director of National Intelligence has said the scientific consensus was that the virus was not man-made or genetically modified. That's right, I agree with that, said Pompeo. Yeah, I've seen their analysis. I've seen the summary that you saw that was released publicly. I have no reason to doubt that is accurate at this point. That's intelligent. I don't know why go all at the deep end. Basil seems to think that Pompeo needs to be thrown out, but Basil, you're entitled to your opinion. By the way, the podcast picture was with Basil the boxer. He's not in the picture, but this was 3 years ago. We went on this wonderful walk over at Fairmont Ridge at the edge of Castro Valley and San Leandro where they meet. And there was this beautiful thistle, this purple thistle. And you can see that picture at MikesDailyPodcast.com. So he also said, and this is interesting, I've seen what the intelligence community has said. I have no reason to believe that they're wrong. What's important is that the Chinese Communist Party had the opportunity to prevent all of the calamity that has befallen the world. And here we find ourselves today. I have a hard time disagreeing with that. And it's not that I hate people who are Chinese. I don't hate Australians. I don't hate Germans. I don't hate Swedish people. I don't hate anyone. However, I do think that certain governments make mistakes. Ours has made mistakes in the past. They may have made mistakes with this. The previous administration made mistakes. We all make mistakes. Governments make mistakes. And the Chinese government, the Chinese Communist Party, they ain't saints. So if you're asking me to defend the Chinese Communist Party, my hand will not go up. I will not be part of that. I will not be party to that. I will not be a communist party to that. I will not be anywhere near that. So, at anywho, on Wednesday, Pompeo said at a press briefing that there is significant evidence to believe the coronavirus originated in a lab. but added that we don't have certainty about whether it began in the lab or whether it began someplace else. So there we go. That's just where it is. Why bring it up? Because it's a thing. It's a story that seems to be very political right now. And a lot of conservative talk show hosts discuss it. A lot of liberal talk show hosts discuss it, or liberal slanting networks, because I really don't believe there are liberal talk show hosts on the radio anyway. You have NPR that leans liberal, but at any rate, that's just the way the world is today. And Tesla's CEO, Elon Musk, confirmed today that the company has restarted its California factory, a move that defied local government orders. Now, that sentence was printed in MSN's money section, and let me tell you, and that'd be Microsoft News. They've been around a while. Got the little butterfly. Here's the thing. And they also had, what was that? That email service? Hotmail. They came out with Hotmail. Sorry, guys, you missed it. It was supposed to be called Gmail. Gmail's the one that got popular. Hotmail, Hotmail's gone. It's now Outlook.com. Which I do have an email account through Outlook, but if you would like to email me, MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. And you can also Google chat Hangouts with me, rather, through that. I found out. So here's the thing. Fremont, where this is located, is strict. Very strict. And I know this because I work in Fremont. My full-time job's in Fremont. And they want everyone wearing masks all the time. Because they're covering their tuckuses. They're doing the Gavin Newsom, the gruesome Newsom. Why is that? Why did that stick, gruesome Newsom? Because it rhymes. And anywho, Musk practically dared authorities to arrest him in a tweet, which, by the way, he met his the mother of his new son through Twitter. Did you not know that? Grimes, they met on Twitter as we go outside a cafe anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valleyton, and you can find me on Twitter at Mike Talks. And I have been on Twitter for a heck of a long time. I could have been on Twitter when it first started, but I thought it was ridiculous because back then it relied on, it didn't have an app. It was a website. And something about it annoyed me. I think because it linked up with my phone number, and I didn't like that. So I canceled it. But I could have had a very old Twitter account. But it's pretty old as it is. It's over 10 years old. So that's, what else are you going to say? Most people start their Twitter accounts within the past 5 years. Who cares? Why is this even a bragging point? It's not. But at Mike Talks is where you can find me. So the state allows a fine up to $1,000 a day or up to 90 days in jail for operating in violation of health orders. The plant in Fremont, a city of more than 230,000 people south of San Francisco, had been closed since March 23rd. Early Monday, the parking lot was nearly full as the massive factory, which employs 10,000 workers in semis, were driving off loaded with vehicles that may have been produced before the shutdown. The restart defied the orders of the Alameda County Public Health Department, of which Podcastro Valley is part of, which has deemed the factory a non-essential business that can't open under the virus restrictions. It warned the company was operating in violation of the county health order and hoped Tesla would comply without further enforcement measures until the county approves a site-specific plan required by the state. And we'll see where this goes. Do-do-do-do-do. Wah, wah, wah. Do-do-do. Wah, wah. Tesla contends in the lawsuit that Alameda County can't be more restrictive than orders from Governor Gavin Newsom. The lawsuit says the governor's coronavirus restrictions refer to federal guidelines classifying vehicle manufacturing as essential businesses that are allowed to continue operating. This is the final straw, Musk wrote in a now deleted Saturday tweet. Tesla will now move its HQ and future programs to Texas, Nevada immediately. There you go, Fremont. Wah, 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 wah. But Newsom professed not to know if Tesla had reopened. I have great expectations that we can work through at the county level. So maybe he'll push Alameda County and Fremont to chill out. Let's see. So nowhere in this article am I seeing if he is going to be... Oh, well, Musk, is trying to do the ventilators thing. But whether Musk had made good on the promise remains in dispute. Several weeks after Newsom was touting the ventilators that Musk promised, the state said it hadn't heard of any being delivered. Musk has been ranting about the stay-at-home order since the company's April 29th first quarter earnings were released. So nowhere in this article do I see exactly what Musk is going to do to protect his employees. And that has been a bit of a discussion about tech and the tech industry and how they are treating their employees. And, maybe there should be more of a spotlight on that. Meanwhile, other tech people like Amazon are in the news because the world's largest cinema chain, AMC, reports that Amazon may be having talks for a possible takeover of the firm, which is very interesting because their stock has dropped a lot due to the fact that, nobody's going to the theater because they can't. Also because movies suck right now and have been for a while. Sucking. United Airlines says it can't guarantee that center aisle seats on its planes will remain empty after a doctor tweeted an image of a packed weekend flight and questioned the airline's social distancing practices. Yeah. Crazy. Because I thought if I was going to fly, I would be able to get, have lots of room between me and that's the whole thing is I don't want to fly if I'm going to be right next to somebody in these times. I'll be honest with you. And I don't like the whole, and you know what? I hope that this continues. If we do, if like a law comes down and says, hey, you can't have people sitting right next to each other, like you can plainly see in this picture that was put on Twitter. Ethan Weiss put this up on his Twitter account, Ethan J. Weiss, at Ethan J. Weiss, and the people are just right next to each other. It's crazy. Right next to each other. Everybody's wearing face masks, but yikes. And if now my mom, as I spoke last show, is we also talked a lot about Joel McHale. So if you love Joel McHale, you got to listen to the last show because we threw a lot of love his way. Anywho, and I'll stop saying anywho because that's annoying. It's anyhow. How's it going with you? So how Florida is dealing with as they're reopening beaches and such. We talked a little bit about that, but my mom says restaurants are allowed to have guests, but they can only have 20% of the restaurant filled. Now, I don't know how they figure that out, but I guess you have to do sort of a best guesstimate about that. But and then I think she said you can be outside, which is interesting. But trying to be 6 feet apart from everyone. I like the idea of 20% capacity for restaurants. I am so annoyed, especially in the Bay Area. Any major city you go to, you probably find this, where they cram people right next to each other. They make these tiny little narrow tables, and you sit, let's say 2 to a table, one person sitting on a regular chair, the other sitting on like a booth seat, and you're sitting in this really narrow table, and they jam practically, there's like maybe a foot of space between you and the next table over, and those people are right there. You're practically, you can't not hear their conversation. You can't have a private conversation because they're hearing everything you're saying. Curb Your Enthusiasm made fun of it. Larry David. I can't really do my Larry David impression right now. Hey! There was my Larry David impression for you. You're welcome. Larry David's like saying to the person, hey, want in on this conversation? He's saying to the guy who's sitting like at the next table, but they're so close, and the guy's looking right at Larry David. There's no privacy. I hate it. So we need the 20% rule to continue. I hope this is the new normal, because I do not like being jammed right up against people, and that is something you have at practically every restaurant in the Bay Area. So hopefully we adopt that, because I know you want to go and eat out. You want to go out and get out of your house. This will help that, I guess. Meanwhile, don't put anybody in a nursing home in New York, Andrew Cuomo. But the whole thing with people dying at nursing homes, it's such a bad situation. He even admits it. That's all I know. That's all I want to say about that. But that was a big issue. And then here's something I heard today. If you're going to invest, here was the question I've always heard, if you're going to invest in a soda company, you should either invest in Coke or Pepsi. But here's the thing. I'm hearing people say invest in Pepsi because they've got more things like snacks. They're more diversified. You want to be, even though Coke, everybody says Coke when you're in the South. If you buy a Pepsi, you basically say, I'm going to buy a Coke. You forget the brand naming of Coke is so homogenized or totaled. The word I'm trying to think of, unanimous, ubiquitous. Is this the word I want? How? Not sure. But anyway, everybody, Cafe Anyway, is saying Coke in the South. And I used to hear that over and over again. Yeah, if you try and launch a new product, you just get coked all the time because everybody knows Coke if in the soda world. But no, Pepsi is more diversified, so they say that is the better company to go with, interestingly enough. And I guess that's pretty much it for this show. Let's say hi out to some people at Cafe Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley. Oh, and the New York City, by the way, back to New York City real quick. They are going to ease the virus lockdown, but not the Big Apple. The state is, but not the Big Apple. The state worst affected by America's coronavirus outbreak will be allowed to gradually reopen later this week, but New York City will stay closed until at least June. COVID-19 has killed about 22,000 people in New York State. And I know I said last show, I'm not going to talk anymore about the coronavirus, but that's ridiculous because it's part of our lives, and I find it fascinating how it influences our lives. But also, I'm not going to get into the whole what is it going? Is it done? That I'm not going to speculate. I'll just give you the facts, and that is it has killed 22,000 people in the New York State. Governor Andrew Cuomo has ordered all non-essential businesses closed, of course, since March 22nd. He said 3 regions had met criteria, including on declining death rates, hospital beds, and testing capacity to restart construction, manufacturing, and curbside retail, where the order expires Friday. It's an exciting new phase. We're all anxious to get back to work, he said. But New York City, the epicenter of America's epidemic, will not be able to start getting its economy up and running again this month, Mayor de Blasio told reporters. Hey, let's say hi out to some folks at Cafe Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. Look who's here.
Hello, make a message, Madame Rootabega, and I hear that Bill Murray is having a nacho making contest. Ooh.
Yes, that's what I heard too. And it just had that article, and now it's gone. Bill Murray with Guy Fieri will face off in a nacho competition because why not? Oh, there's all kinds of stuff like this happening. It's probably some kind of charity. Yeah, it's a charity thing. All this charity stuff is happening. And one of the things I mentioned, of course, the community group chat, a group read of one of their series scripts, though it's one of the episodes where Bill Murray's SNL alum cohort. Chevy Chase was not in that particular episode as Pierce Hawthorne. He was gone by then. But there are a bunch of other shows that are doing table reads or doing some kind of charity thing where they do reunions and get back together. And so that's interesting. If you look up reunions on Bing, which, hey, yours truly is doing right now, if I can, which is basically saying reunion. Is how I want to say that from now on. Neon. But let's see. Friends is going to do a reunion special for HBO. Oh, but that's not an actual table read. But that's the Orphan Black's doing a reunion. Let's see. Oh, Back to the Future reunion. That's the big one. Yes. Even without Crispin Glover and Thomas F. Wilson, they're going to do a reunion. Okay. And Office. That's right. Office was the other one. Look who else is here. Big fan of The Office, are you?
Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that?
Yeah, we love The Office with the Steve Carell guy and the guy with the big head and the little glasses there.
Yeah, that guy. Do you know that?
Wonderful. Next show, it'll be the wonderful Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, and John Deere, the engineer. I hope you have a wonderful day. We'll try and bring you another show. You can call me 336MM Daily. 3 + 3 = 6. MM as in Mike Matthews. Daily as in what this podcast will try to continue to be. Yeah. Take it away, A-Frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!